Today we are talking retirement. I have here with us Dave Hall. He's kind of our retirement guru. He helps us answer every retirement question out there. So I'd like to welcome Dave as we talk about retirement. So Dave, welcome to our show today.
Thank you, CR. Very excited to be with you today and very excited to answer some more questions. Seems like that's what I do most of the day anymore is answer various retirement questions, but I love it. Happy to help anyone we can with the questions that they have.
So our job here at Retirement Risk Advisors is we are here to help educate. That's our number one priority, is to help you get through retirement, not just to the door, but to get through it. So Dave, with that, there's a lot of risk we have to eliminate. Is that right?
There definitely are, and it's something that most financial advisors don't address when we look at how long retirement is going to be for many people. Average retirement is going to last about 20 years. And many of you, it's going to last 30 to 40 years. So there are a lot of things that can happen during that time. If you look back over the last 20 years of your life and think about what changed during that time, things that have happened in your life that you didn't expect, a lot of uncertainty. And it's our job to try to help you to reduce or even eliminate much of that financial uncertainty out of your retirement years.
All right, Dave. So my question for the day is, I'm going to pull it up here from Darius. Darius and Skylar are 59 and 64. Recently, with inflation raising, both are concerned about the retirement savings. Skylar will be retiring at 70 in 6 years, and Darius will continue to work as a machinist supervisor until he is able to take retirement at age 70. Both are expecting to live well in their late 80s, much like their parents, and have a good size 401k. So tell me about the situation as we break down this so far.
Yeah, so as we're looking at their situation, I mean, they've got a number of issues that they're needing to deal with here. One of the biggest one is just their longevity, saying, hey, how long are we going to live? How are we going to deal with this? Looks like they've kind of started figuring out when they're going to retire. But we've got to look at that too, because retirement doesn't mean we start Social Security. Retirement means we quit working. And so there's some decisions that have got to be made with that to make sure they're handling it correctly. Got to look at where their assets are going to go, what they're really going to do from an overall standpoint.
So Dave, let me get to the first question then, because I put 3 questions together that will deal with this particular situation. Darius is concerned they won't be able to survive on the retirement funds because their buying spending power will decrease as they get further into retirement. Can they rely solely on Social Security to offset this?
In my opinion, no. And they do have a very big issue here, especially when we look at what's going on currently. It's expected that inflation is going to end somewhere around 8%. Social Security is going to go up 5.9% this next year. Who knows what the real number is going to be? But if that continued on for any length of time, it's going to create havoc on many retirees, because many of them have now put their money into cash because they're uncertain about the market, what's going on inside of there. That's the case. It's going to create some major havoc. The problem is no 401k or any of those traditional assets are inflation adjusted. So yes, Social Security is, and going up 5.9%, but that's not keeping up even with true inflation. And that's only the Social Security portion. When I was doing planning and with the advisors we work with, you've got to inflation adjust those income needs on an annual basis and realize that you may not be buying any more assets or goods and services, but you may need more money each year just to keep up with being able to have the amount of buying power you need.
And Dave, I look at this as well. I get a little nervous because, again, as we look at everything changing and they're trying to rely on Social Security, it seems like they really need to start adjusting to a new lifestyle. It doesn't seem like they're going to be able to keep that same momentum moving into the future, because as we get into retirement, that same amount of money is not coming in. If we're solely relying on Social Security, we definitely have to cut back.
It just blows me away, the stuff we buy anymore that people just don't need. Now, obviously, there are certain things that you need, certain things that you want. But I was talking to a realtor the other day. We're looking at a piece of property down in Mississippi and talking about various spending habits. She goes, look, my husband went crazy for a number of years. He had 170 different dress shirts inside of his closet, most of which had never been worn. And then she said he lost a bunch of weight, so none of them even fit him. But it's like, you almost, in this day and age, with returns being what they are, it's like, okay, one of the spouses needs to bring it in the front door and fulfill that need to buy. The other spouse needs to take it out the back door and return it to the company and get their money back. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, but I see it all the time. I was in one of my clients' homes a month or so ago, looked in one of the kids' bedrooms. There were boxes, CR, just stacked that had never been opened, still in bags. They're college kids. They hadn't been home for months. It's all just sitting there. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think like many of us in the world, we've got to look at our spending and start refocusing on where that money's going. Is it really adding value to our future?
Well, Dave, let me get to question number 2. This one is, what other investments can they consider to outpace inflation?
From obviously the stock market, when we look at it over time, now as we're getting older, we've got to be very careful that we don't have a sequence of return event where market drops, you're pulling money out, and now you're really stuck in a situation of not having the ability to get that money back. But when we look at, there's 2 other products that are principal protected that work very, very well. One is indexed universal life insurance, if you're able to get insured. The other are annuities, indexed annuities. Another great option. Many of these are still, even with the interest being as low as it is, 6, 7, 8%. We had one of the life products with the market doing what it's done because you're buying options. It's up over 18% this last year, CR. And if the market drops, yeah, you're going to be back to zero. And when I say zero, back to what you started with, you're not going below that, which, if the market drops 40% and you have money in the market, you're going to go down with the market. But yeah, definitely would want to look at principal protected products that would help them outpace it. Some of the annuities are designed where they can keep up with inflation, where you can get higher payments each year.
Dave, are they going to have any problems purchasing this as they get older?
Insurance, absolutely. It's based on your mortality, how long you expected to live, what medical issues you may have. The annuity, no, not really. When you look at it now, how long do you want it to grow inside of there? Do you have it in a tax-free bucket? Is it in your tax-deferred bucket? Things you'd want to consider there based upon your age. But annuity is going to be something you'd buy at any time. In fact, what we find, the older you get, the better annuity starts to look because of the mortality credits that exist inside of them. You could have a person that's in their 90s that could buy an annuity if they have very little money and get far bigger income stream for the rest of their life than they'd be able to with whatever little money they had left.
And Dave, let's get to my third question. Should Skylar continue working past 70 to help with this risk?
Once they get to this point, that's something they're going to have to consider. Now, I'm all for people working longer. I have no problem. I think the best option would be to put a plan together and see if it's needed to let that plan get tested to see if they can get past the various problems that a risk-tested plan are going to create. That's their decision. I was with one of my friends again the other day, 78 years old, healthy as can be, opening a new nonprofit, trying to change the world, still very happy with what she's doing. Now, she's not married, so there's no other person to spend that extra time traveling with or doing things. If you're able to work, you enjoy working, not a bad option. That's one of the best things you can do for your retirement is work longer. But also don't want you to feel like you just spent your whole retirement working and then die and somebody else gets the benefit of everything you did.
Once Skylar's past 70, is there any benefit on that side?
Absolutely not. She definitely want to take the Social Security at age 70. Very important to get that coming in because you're only going to get inflation adjustments after that. You're not going to be able to get any of the delayed retirement credits. But it really sounds more than anything, they just need a plan put together. They need to sit down with an advisor who understands it. Because what they may find, this is another thing we often see, those worries and concerns that keep us up at night, many times they're unfounded. Now, other times they are. We have many situations where someone that comes in, goes through a plan, and all of a sudden they're shocked that they have issues, thought they didn't have any. And others where you've got somebody that's been worrying for years, afraid they're not going to make through retirement. And you can show them multiple scenarios. If tax rates double, if the market goes to pot, I mean, all of these things that they still make it through without any problems.
And like you said, Dave, if you are out there and you're in this situation, you feel like you have a lot of questions and you need that resolved, or you just need to start, you can go to retirementriskadvisors.com. That's a great way to start. You can go on there and we have many options, especially different webinars you can watch, because our purpose is not to put you into a place where you have to go make these decisions very quickly. It's an education base. We want to have you be educated through various topics so you know exactly the best route for you and your spouse. And Dave, with that, I want to be able to end today, and I want to get your advice as we look into this to say, hey, we're ready to take the next stop, but we don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, the best thing you can do is go to our website and start getting that education. Almost all of our education's free. Very little of it would you ever have to pay for, if any. You can get hours of education. We've got our flagship presentation, Getting Safely Through Retirement. Depending on where you get, you go through the course, maybe an hour, maybe up to 2 hours. Obviously, the more time that's there, the more information we include in that presentation. But a great way to understand the risk, understand where you need to get started. I give 5 strategies of what you should do from there. And then if you decide to move forward into some of our master classes, also offered at no cost to you at this point, just great opportunities to get educated. And then you can start figuring out what you do. The problem is oftentimes we go in, meet with an advisor, and they start telling us what we want to hear, or taking us down a path that maybe they want us to go down, without addressing some of the underlying issues that we may not have even ever thought about that we needed to discuss. The education allows us to open our brains to say, okay, what are the issues that I need to be aware of? What questions should I ask? And then how am I going to address that as I figure out at some point to get with an advisor? And we definitely recommend it. You want to get with someone who understands it, so then they can walk you through it individually based upon your facts and circumstances.
So right now, education, 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 and that's going to be your key to success as we look into retirement.
Absolutely. And then obviously it's taking action. Once you understand that education, where do I put my money? I need to start saving, or continue saving. I need to move buckets. I need to pick the right products. I mean, all of that comes with the planning and the roadmap that's provided by an advisor. But yeah, you've got to understand it. Too many people don't. I mean, we've talked about, and we've got to do it sometimes, CR. Go out and we've got to do some surveys in New York or some big city, because people just do not understand this at the level they need to. I think we go into a nursing home and ask 10 key questions on retirement. Unfortunately, most of them wouldn't know it, and not because their minds are gone. It's just, if you got the young ones, they just wouldn't understand what they needed to be doing.
Dave, thanks for joining us on this YouTube special, and we hope to see you again as we continue to provide these awesome videos.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you guys again next time.